Okay, why don't we begin the meeting? We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance this morning.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah. If I can have the clerk call the roll, please.
Commissioner Leo Molitor.
Present.
Commissioner Nora Adukis. Here. Chair Richard Rodriguez.
Here.
Commissioner Stephen Onstadt.
Here.
Commissioner Michael Wessner.
Present. Okay, this is the point in the agenda where we have public comments on any items that are not on the agenda. I have speaker cards up here, but I don't have any for other items other than what we have, so I'm assuming there are no other speakers. Continuing to item number 5, ZN 06-0005/SD06-0033/TT5688. The Wildwood project. Staff, please.
Good morning, Chair Rodriguez and members of the Planning Commission. I'm Michelle Gluckert-Deanna of Planning Division staff. The project before you is the Wildwood Preserve Zone Change and Track Map, which originally was heard by your commission on September 24th and was continued to the hearing today. At your hearing of September 24th, concerns were presented by the Santa Rosa Valley Municipal Advisory Committee regarding mitigation measure WR1-1 for groundwater quality, specifically related to the restrictions on horsekeeping activities under the project redesign alternative. At that hearing, your commission directed county staff, including the Planning Division and the Watershed Protection Division, to meet with the applicant and the Santa Rosa Valley MAC to discuss this single issue. The purpose of the hearing today is to respond to that one issue. Per your direction, the Planning Division convened a meeting with the applicant, staff from WPD, and representatives from the MAC. As a result of that meeting, WPD re-examined the groundwater quality impacts of the project redesign alternative and found no change in impacts relating to groundwater quality from the proposed project to the project redesign alternative. Therefore, WPD determined that allowing the same total number of horses for the project redesign alternative as allowed under the proposed project, in conjunction with imposing a maximum number of horses per lot, does not result in a substantial increase in the severity of an environmental impact. As a result of this analysis, and based on the consensus reached at the meeting with county staff, the applicant, and the MAC, planning staff is recommending a revision to mitigation measure WR1-1. The revised mitigation measure would limit the maximum number of horses allowed for the entire development under the project redesign alternative to 22. Horses will be allowed on all lots within the proposed development so long as the total number of horses in the entire development does not exceed a maximum of 22. The individual lots would be restricted to horsekeeping activities as outlined in revised Table 5-1. Lots 1 through 15 would be allowed up to 2 horses, lots 16 up to 3 horses, lots 17 and 18 up to a maximum of 4 horses. This revised analysis of the impacts to groundwater quality resulted in an update to the final EIR to amend mitigation measure WR1-1. This update is Exhibit 17 to the staff report. As concluded in that document, the changes to the FEIR are insignificant modifications, and under CEQA Section 15088.5, recirculation of the FEIR is not required. In addition to the update to the FEIR, the Planning Division is recommending revisions to the staff report, conditions of approval, mitigation monitoring and reporting program, as well as the CEQA findings and statement of overriding considerations. For revisions to the staff report, please refer to the revised staff report dated October 22nd, 2009. Revisions are also recommended to conditions of approval 11, 71, and 72 as outlined in Exhibit 18. A revision to the Mitigation Monitoring and Reporting Program, Mitigation Measure WR1-1, is recommended. The revised language for the mitigation measure is outlined in Exhibit 18. And the CEQA findings and statement of overriding considerations has been revised to reflect these changes. Please refer to revised Exhibit 6. It was requested that staff explain a statement that was made in Exhibit 6, specifically Item 7 of the Statement of Overriding Considerations. This is included on page 222 of your packet. The statement explains that the development and management of the project site will deter criminal activity at the site and reduce harm to the environment and the Arroyo Santa Rosa. During the meeting that staff held with the applicant and the Santa Rosa Valley MAC, the county was informed that there have been motorcycles trespassing on the site, that shell casings have been found on the property, and that there has been some illegal dumping on the site, specifically within the arroyo. For this reason, this particular statement was added to the Statement of Overriding Considerations to explain one of the benefits of the proposed project over the current status of the land. The applicant is in agreement with the revisions recommended by staff. Additionally, the MAC submitted a letter to the Planning Division, which is included as Exhibit D, recommending approval of the project redesign alternative with the revised conditions and mitigation measures to allow horse ownership on all lots in the subdivision. Based on this, staff recommends that your commission take the following actions. Adopt a resolution recommending that the Board of Supervisors take the following actions. Certify that the final EIR and appendices, Exhibit 5, Volumes 1 and 2, as amended by the update to the FEIR, Exhibit 17, referred to collectively as the FEIR, have been prepared in compliance with CEQA, that the Board has reviewed and considered the information contained therein, and that the FEIR reflects the independent judgment and analysis of the county. Adopt the proposed CEQA findings, mitigation measures, and Statement of Overriding Considerations as set forth in Exhibit 6 revised. Adopt the proposed mitigation monitoring and reporting program, Exhibit 11, as revised by Planning Division staff memo dated October 22, 2009. Adopt the proposed zone change findings set forth in Section C of the revised staff report of October 22, 2009, for the reasons set forth in Section C of the revised staff report from October 22nd, and as presented at the public hearing, and find that the following proposed zone change is in the interest of public health, safety, or general welfare, and good zoning practice, and it is consistent with the county general plan. This is ZN 060005, filed by Wildwood Stable Estates LP. Adopt an ordinance approving ZN 060005. Adopt the proposed subdivision findings set forth in Section D of the revised staff report from October 22, 2009, and approve the tentative tract map SD 060033 TT 5688 for the project redesign alternative, subject to the conditions of approval set forth in Exhibit 2 as revised by the Planning Division staff memo dated October 22, 2009. Direct the Planning Director to file a notice of determination within 5 days with the County Clerk, and specify that the Clerk of the Board of Supervisors and the Clerk of the Planning Commission at 800 South Victoria Avenue as the custodians and location of the record of proceeding upon which these decisions are based. This concludes my presentation, and I am available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Declarations by Commissioners.
I have no declaration.
I forwarded the scheduling information to both Rosemary Allison and Mark Burley when it was available to me. And I also heard on the news yesterday about the tracker that's been hired in order to, Santa Rosa Valley tracker that's going to find and destroy the mountain lion that's destroying pets in the area. That's it.
Commissioner Wessner.
I have driven by the property on Santa Rosa Valley Road twice since our last hearing, simply for the purposes of visiting my father-in-law in Cambria. I did not visit the property, but did obviously observe it as I drove by.
Commissioner Ostott.
I have no conflicts. I didn't attend the meeting on September 24th, but I reviewed the entire record, including the tape.
Okay. And my only comments are that after receiving this staff report the other day, I contacted the Planning Department and asked specific questions related to items number 7 on Section 7 of the revised Board of Supervisors resolution, and I think staff addressed it adequately as related to criminal activity on the property. Okay, we have speaker cards. At this time, we're going to reopen the public hearing. Dave White. Excuse me, were there any additional questions? Excuse me, Mr. White. Any additional questions of staff by commissioners? Okay, thank you.
Good morning. My name is Dave White. I represent the applicant. I am just here to answer any questions or provide any clarifications.
Chair?
Mr. Messner.
Then the only question I have is, do you accept these alterations and changes in the conditions and exhibits that have been presented by staff?
Yes, we do. We support staff's recommendation for approval as well.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr.
Thank
White.
you.
I have a number of other speaker cards. They all relate to being available to respond to any questions the commissioners might have. Beyond that, I have a speaker card from Mark Burley.
Good morning. My name is Mark Burley, and I'm a member of the Santa Rosa Valley MAC. I was not able to attend the previous meeting regarding this preserve, and I'd like to just step back a little bit on some of the issues we're actually on the discussed today. The Santa Rosa Valley was divided in the general plan with in the late 20th century, basically between being residential on the east end and being agricultural and open space on the west end, including a green belt. And at some point, there is a butting up between those two areas of the general plan. And this particular project is the last of the rural zone, which is the residential zoned properties, as you start to go west. All of the properties on this side of the street, on south of Santa Rosa Road, further than this, are either open space or agricultural. And that is the general plan zoning. And some of you may be aware that I have been a big supporter of the SOAR initiative, and the SOAR initiative's goal has been to preserve the general plan zoning. It's not to try and change general plan zoning. This is the general plan zoning for this property. And it's difficult sometimes for people who live in the Santa Rosa Valley to see farmland that's been there for many years and been used as farm, and to understand that it's actually zoned under the general plan for residential housing. So that's one of the reasons why I feel that I'm able to support this, and we had specifically asked planning to look into where that line is drawn, and then there are other properties that are east of here that are also zoned residential that are still, by the way, in agriculture. So that's one thing I just would like the commissioners to be aware of. The second thing is, I know there were some issues regarding the number of mitigations involved in this project, and you know, nothing is perfect. Most of the mitigations are able to protect either the environment. We're not obviously able to protect the fact that this is farmland, but that's the general plan. So the number of mitigations that are involved in this project, to my mind, is only a protection for all of the environmental concerns, and in fact the last minute change of moving the houses down out of the Conejo Dudley area is one of those things. So I feel that those mitigations are there to protect us. And lastly, I would like to get onto the issues that really are of concern to our community, which is about the development, what kind of development we have. And the developments that we are very concerned about are those that include horse properties, ownership of horses, and trails. And from the very beginning, the developers have worked with the MAC to allay our concerns about those. They have included trails, and even as late as the last meeting, another trail was included that we had been asking for. We have a trail plan, as you may know, for the whole Santa Rosa Valley that hopefully will be accepted by the Board of Supervisors. And then the very last thing is this discussion that we had last time, which was the sort of big hiccup, is that we are very concerned that all people who move to the Santa Rosa Valley have the ability to own horses. And actually, in our opinion, that is an important part of the general plan for rural zoning. If you look at what one of the things of having rural zoning is that you are able to keep livestock. And if you have properties that are quote-unquote rural that do not allow that, it seems to me that that is in conflict with the general plan. Now that we have come to an agreement, and I thank everybody for letting us all get together in a room together last week, we are now have a way that anybody in this development will be able to keep horses, and we think that the number of horses have probably been sufficient for the people that move in there. If you have any questions, I'm available. Otherwise, thank you very much for your time.
Questions by commissioners? Commissioner Rummel.
I just have a comment. Thank you, Mr. Burley, for clarifying a lot of things that were in my mind by summarizing and bringing this all together from the history of the Santa Rosa Valley to the meeting of the various open spaces and so forth. I really appreciate that.
You're welcome. Thank you.
No other questions? Thank you. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Rosemary Allison. I'm chair of the Santa Rosa Valley MAC. And honestly, the reason why I'm getting up to speak today is, number one, to compliment staff and as well as Watershed District, as well as the developer involved in agreeing to meet with us and try to resolve our conflicts. And I think we came up with a great compromise. And as you received your letter from us, we definitely are in support of this development and hope that you agree with us to adopt and approve the resolution for it. Thank you.
Thank you. I have no other speaker cards. Anything else from the applicant? Okay. In that case, I'll close the public hearing. Commissioners, discussion. Commissioner Westner.
I find it fascinating that we're able to get a compromise as far as the issue as far as the water. I still have deep concerns about the fact that there's a potential of 36 homes up there along with these animals. The nature of protecting the water, these issues were put in place starting all the way from Simi Valley through the Tierra Greenbelt down to the Oxnard Plain. However, I've said often up here, I will defer to the expertise of staff, and if the water department, et cetera, feel comfortable with these compromises, then I feel comfortable with that also. But along with that comes the issue then of the old camel in the tent issue. First the nose, then the rest of it. So as this moves forward and the Board of Supervisors, if they adopt the overriding consideration, I hope it's brought to them the fact that we probably then should be somehow giving this commission the tools, and also staff, of a range of affecting the water and affecting the environment. So as this moves forward, I would like to have that issue at least discussed. Because again, adding extra horses so it remains a viable economic situation. As we know, we don't look at whether something will enhance the economic situation. We've often said that, but I understand the concerns that the MAC brought forward. But at the same time, we have to protect the environment. So with that, I'd like to hear what the other commissioners have to say.
Commissioner Armstrong.
My main concern is the net loss to ag, but the applicant is well within its rights to go forward under the existing laws. The staff has come up with a proposal that is acceptable, and therefore I have no objection. But I do remain concerned with net loss of ag.
Commissioner Molitor.
I also want to compliment the planning director and the planning department for all the extra time they put into this to reconcile our concerns about this. My concern is also the loss of this agricultural land, but again, we are within the zoning. I had one other question I should have asked earlier, and maybe I missed it somewhere. And could I ask a question to staff at this point?
Yeah, I don't have.
Could I ask a question?
Yes, we can.
When one of the compromises for the extra horses was putting permeable or non-permeable membranes down for the manure from the horses, I didn't say anything about removing the manure after a certain point. Was that in the... That's in there? Okay, that's fine. It was quite a comprehensive report to go through, and I must have missed that, but that's my only concern. Thank you.
Can I just have one point of clarification on Commissioner Wessner's? I heard you say that you thought that there would be 36 homes allowed as part of this project, but there are already restrictions in the zoning ordinance that prohibit in the Santa Rosa Valley, given the nitrate problems, and the minimum you have to have a second dwelling unit in the nitrate impact area is 4.32 acres, and most of these lots don't even come there. I think this development will only allow two additional second dwelling units. So
Point well taken. Again, I just wanted the understanding that once we do these things, that the second dwelling is almost an automatic situation depending on the restrictions. So I just have that concern. And again, just so everybody understands, this starts with the fact when we start building greenhouses in the Oxnard Plain, things that permeate down into the water table. Each project unto itself is not harmful. But as we all know, and when you do an environmental impact report, there's this continuous buildup that starts, and that's one of the reasons why a number of years ago we were looking at the fact that what is the largest piece of property that we would allow a septic tank on. And we're trying to ensure the fact that the future that we don't, oh my God, here we are, now what do we do? And as we went through, if everybody remembers the Malibu situation, we had to get in a situation where we had to put a mini waste treatment plant because of the issues going into the Santa Monica Bay. So as the rest of my commissioners and I feel, it's part of our responsibility with our best knowledge and best technology to ensure the future is taken care of. So that's all I'm bringing up, is the fact that the second dwelling exists out there, and the potential sits there. But thank you for the clarification.
Commissioner Dukas.
Thank you so much for being willing to work directly with the neighbors there. Thank you so much to the MAC for your service to the area. I know you're protecting the area not just for yourselves but for the future. And thank you, staff, for putting together. I know that sometimes these things seem so arduous and time-consuming. I think in this situation that we've got happy people. That should make me happy. I'm still very concerned with this project because of the loss of agriculture, which is one thing, and the impacts to scenic resources. Looking at a property just down the road from this, where you can see the white fence that takes in open space. Natural space. I would not the term of art open space for zoning purposes, but just a natural area. You can really see what it would do to wildlife migration. You can really see what it does in terms of just fencing off the area. If I had my druthers, I wish that natural area was not going to be fenced, but instead would be deeded to COSCA, and that you wouldn't have a biologist that has to be out there when you do weed clearance for fire safety. It's just I just see it as being really unworkable. I don't see how someone can ride their horses on that property, on their property, without creating trails. I just don't know how you do that. And the the cure for that impact would be have it deeded over to an agency that is a steward of natural open space, that Caneo Open Space organization. It was suggested, but it was not accepted. I wish that would have been accepted, because it concerns me that you've got really significant grading in order to put those 2 homes up there. What that's going to look like, and what that's going to do for that area that abuts this open space that the city of Thousand Oaks has. That and the expansive soils, the fact that it's in a floodplain, that it's subject to liquefaction, that you have the impacts to the plant, the loss of the farmland. I don't see the benefit. Perhaps I would if that land had been deeded, but it wasn't, and so that's that. I'm grateful that you have come up with a compromise that works. I'm grateful for your sensitivity towards protecting the environment, and I wish I could support this, but I can't.
Thank you. I'm glad we took a continuation on this item, because obviously there were meetings that occurred, and the time was well spent to come up with the amendments and the compromise that we have in front of us today. I expressed previously that the number of mitigation issues were an issue. Specifically, I was concerned about the nitrate intrusion into the groundwater. The loss of farmland, ag land, is always an issue, but I don't see, there's no other way to mitigate that loss of 22 acres. I also am glad to see in this revised staff report that that portion of the riding trail that was traditionally there has been formally included as part of this package, and I know we spoke to it last time we were here. It's going to be incumbent upon the HOA to enforce some CC&Rs up there. Obviously, it's all well and good that we do what we do here and set the restrictions or limitations on what can be put up there or what can be housed in the way of horses. But unless the HOA and CC&Rs enforce the CC&Rs, then it could become a moot issue. On that particular item, I'm glad to read that the county is included as a third-party beneficiary to this, so that if, not that we would expect to have to step in with some sort of enforcement effort, but certainly it provides some clout for the HOA to enforce the CC&Rs, subject to enforcement issues or enforcement by the county. I feel comfortable now with the mitigations that have taken place, and that will be written into the CC&Rs to allow this project to go forward. And I need a motion. Have a second? I would second. Can I second? I think I can. I'd second the motion. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
We approve 3-2. Moving on to the next item on the agenda. Number 6, discussion. Report by the planning director on board actions and other items or other matters. Staff?
I have a brief report back for you. One of the items that was heard at the board yesterday was the approval of the parking ordinance. It was a 5-0 vote, and that was an ordinance that was seen before your commission, about 6 weeks ago. So it will go into effect 30 days from Tuesday. Also,
Madam Director?
Pardon me?
Madam Director, if we could just, I do have some comment on that parking ordinance.
Sure.
I was contacted by the chair of the grand jury. They had 2 of their members attend our commission hearing the
Yes.
day that was presented, and I was contacted. I know Bob quite well. He lives in Moore Park, and he just wanted clarification. The big thing that they wanted, his clarification, it was presented to them by the members of the grand jury, that this was going to be retroactive throughout the county. And I said, no, that was not the purpose. I would like for, I asked them to visit with you or other appropriate staff. I said, it is a going forward project, and it's trying to obviously address the future needs of the community. So I just want to know that we were attended by the grand jury during that hearing. So there you go.
We were attended by the grand jury, yes. And the RMA and all county agencies do a report out to the grand jury annually. So it was a question that was asked and answered at that point, too, a couple of weeks ago.
Well, did they ask you for any clarification as a follow-up prior to the supervisor's hearing?
No, they asked us just a clarification on the ordinance and kind of thoughts on the ordinance. You know, and it's absolutely not a retroactive ordinance. This ordinance don't go into effect until 30 days after the board takes action on an ordinance. So it's not a retroactive one, but it will apply to all projects set for approval after the 30th day for adoption. So we're taking a look at all of the applications that we have in process now and taking them a look in light of that ordinance. And basically, you know, as that ordinance is a flexibility ordinance, so I don't anticipate that we're going to have any problems with projects in the pipeline right now.
And then I have a question to County Council as a follow-up. If I get approached by a member of the grand jury, ex parte, is there any responsibility of reporting that to you or to whom? I just felt a little uncomfortable that first, I know the grand jury has wide powers, obviously, but then being approached individually. Any recommendation?
You know, I don't have an answer for you right now on that question. I could get back to you and copy the commission with an answer.
Yeah, it was not official, so it was just, but again, I get a little nervous when I'm the chair of the grand jury of the County of Ventura, and I'd like to talk to you. So if you could get back to me on
I could understand your concern.
Okay, so let's see. And I also wanted to give you a little bit of discussion on the training schedule. I had a training schedule copied off for you. It's a training schedule that the planning department does every other Wednesday. You know, it's well attended, and if there's something on there that piques your interest or the interest of the board aides too, they come and attend. What we do have, as a matter of fact, in light of this hearing, is I've asked Rosemary Allison, who's the chair of the Santa Rosa MAC, to come and have a discussion on the staff, because what's unusual about the Santa Rosa Valley MAC is that they don't have an area plan that goes with them. So we're not aware in the planning department necessarily of their policies that they're creating as a result of their MAC. So we've asked them to come to the planning staff and let us know what their policies are. I've asked them to pull all of their policies that they have and send them to me in one package so I could see, and so we could see as planners in the Santa Rosa Valley what it is that the MAC is wanting to see out there. So they are coming on the 2nd. Rosemary is coming to present that to us, and so that's going to be very helpful. I think it'll be helpful in our working relationship with that MAC. As I said, there's no area plan, and normally MACs have an area plan. The Ojai Valley MAC is controlled by the Ojai Valley Area Plan, so the planners understand the rules of engagement. Here's what the Ojai wants to see, but that doesn't happen in the Santa Rosa Valley, so I think that's going to be a good meeting for all of us. Also, this project that you heard today then is scheduled to go to the zone change portion of it is scheduled to go to the board on the 24th in the track map, yeah. And we have items I see on the tentative agenda for you on November the 19th and December the 17th. So I don't know if we had, Danielle, have we taken attendance for those days yet, or do we know who's going to be there on those days? I don't know. Have you guys looked out to the December date yet? I know that's getting close to the holiday period. I won't be here on December 17th, so somebody will be sitting in for me. But that's going to be what is that? The Brooks College, yeah.
Well, the big question is, are you looking at anything for December 24th or December 30th? No,
no.
thank you.
I think we'll all be closed that day.
Those are both Thursdays. I want to know. All right.
I think that's all I have for you, unless you have something for me.
Commissioner Paducas.
interested in visiting the site. I understand that Simi Valley landfill is expanding and an EIR is out. I've already been asked about it, and I've told people I don't get my packet until just before. I think this one is so big, it would behoove us to visit it, but I want to make sure that we don't end up with an Amundsen situation where people have the impression that something, that there's some kind of collusion, it's a very controversial, and, I can anticipate some people feeling very strongly about it. So I'd like to have a site visit and also make people who are concerned about it entirely welcome to come along.
Absolutely.
And aware of it.
We can arrange a planning commission site visit for that site. Where it's at right now, it's in what was the 45-day public review period. I just got a comment letter from the mayor of Simi Valley asking if I would be willing to extend that period by another 45 days, and I have agreed to that verbally, and I am going to send him a memo to that, or a letter to that effect today. I think it really, since the purpose of CEQA was public disclosure, it is a large project. I think it only serves the community well to have a little bit of extra time. I mean, we want to keep the project on track, and we want to keep it moving, but I think this first public review phase is so critically important that we're going to grant that, and we'll have a 90-day review period. And then after that, depending on the comments that we have and how long it takes us to respond to those comments, when we have the final draft, it will be scheduled before your commission, although I don't have any clear indication of when that will be, but we'll make sure that you get the site visit first, so I'll begin working on that.
I would highly recommend that. Simply, I'm not quite sure. You weren't here for the Weldon Canyon. I don't know if anybody was Tolan or the Oxnard, but it was a real benefit to me to visit all of these sites and understand how the operator intended to do what they were going to do, and the issues of visual impact that would allow me to both be on site and then to go to another portion of the county. It was a tremendous advantage for the Tolan particularly. The impact of the 126 and the deceleration and the issues of controlling the time for access, particularly coming down that hill, either loaded or unloaded, it still was an issue, so we could provide for the safety. So I would highly recommend it because being involved in all of those, I was able to physically see them, and I also have been able to go to the Simi landfill on multiple occasions. Waste management, I've been quite active with as far as charity events, and we'd often would meet out there on site. So I have an advantage. I think the rest of the commission doesn't, and I would like for them to be able to see the operation and what the intended purposes are.
I think that's a great idea. I've been to the site myself. I took one of their tours. I think they offer weekly tours to the public. They're very much engaged with the community and wanting people to come out and experience their site, and it is quite an experience to see how a landfill of that size really covers their trash every day to such a small level. I was amazed myself, so I think it will be great to go out there, and I'll begin work on that.
Could we not confine our visit to the landfill itself, but I'm trying to think. Camporee was often done, Boy Scout Camporee, it's this big gathering of scouts, was done just adjacent to the landfill. So if we cannot just be on the working area of the landfill, but the area also into which it's expanding, that would be really helpful for me.
Yeah, absolutely. There areas it's expanding, but on the waste management property, right? You don't want to go on anybody's adjoining property during the site visit, or I'd have to make
Well,
those
that
kind of
may be,
things.
I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. What Commissioner Wessner was saying was it was very helpful to go to other areas in order to gauge, visual impact. You would have to go off-site in order to see the site. People, for example, in Sunset Hills say they can see the working face of the landfill. And they're clear the heck out, they're miles away. I don't know how significant that is, but nevertheless, it's there. People who can see it. And then also, I'm getting people talking about, the trash on the 118 freeway. and that it's, plastic bags blowing off the landfill, that their fencing isn't adequate, and they don't go and pick up their trash.
Wow, okay. I'd say you should send them our way if you get those kind of complaints, from somebody, because we really get zero complaints about the landfill. So if you're getting those from people, I think maybe they don't know that we're the agency to contact on that.
Okay.
So just to be clear then, you want to go to the landfill as a public commission, you want to, as the planning commission, you want to go on the expansion area sites, and then you want to go on some probably public roads that would lead us to some visual areas, including Sunset Hills.
Yeah, not necessarily Sunset Hills, because the working face changes all the time in the landfill. And whatever is appropriate.
Okay.
Can we just leave it at that, so that we don't have to camp in the...
No, just as the outgoing district chair for the Boy Scouts in East County, that camp area, that property does belong to Waste Management. So it shouldn't be any difficulty to go onto that property.
Okay.
Okay, I'm sure Mike White can arrange that for us. But again, Sunset Hills, the last time I think we had a minor mod to the CUP for the landfill. We had one lady from Sunset Hills about the visual thing. And it's one thing to see a picture, it's another thing to stand on that street and look at it. It's the same at the standing at the Reagan Library. That's another visual reference point that I've used, because you'll see it directly. So, I think whatever appropriate is the right position. But as far as entering the property, should not be an issue.
Got it. Okay, anything else?
Okay, any other items? I guess not. So we're adjourned until, do we have a date for the next meeting?
I think it's November 19th.
Okay.
What's on the agenda? There are 2 wireless communication facilities and a zoning ordinance text amendment for the scenic resource protection overlay. That may or may not be on the 19th. I'm meeting on that today to see if I can find all those discussions to see if we can meet that.
I may have a conflict on the 19th.
On the 19th?
Yeah. I'll know by Tuesday.
Okay.
Okay.
Also, if the chair isn't going to be here, would you let me know that he's not going to be here so I can prepare to chair the meeting?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, we're adjourned.